Dun, dun, dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Eyes. What's up, everyone? It's your dad bod demigod Joey Mayberry, and I should have done this. I'm back on my channel to talk some more toys because I love toys. I also love Lita.
There's only one word to describe the diva I'm about to introduce to you, and that is Lita!
If you're not familiar with professional wrestling, Lita is a daredevil innovator of women's wrestling. She burst onto the scene in the early 2000s in WWF and literally took over the women's division. And she's actually my first real wrestler that I got into. She's my favorite. She's why I got into the business. Always has been. From the minute I started watching, was just like entranced, I guess, by her. And she's the reason that I'm even into wrestling today. This video was suggested by my friend David, who reminded me that I own every Lita wrestling action figure in existence so far. So I want to do a brief history of Lita's action figures and kind of talk about the eras of little plastic Litas. Plastic! We start out all the way back in 2000 when Lita received her first ever figure. The first ever Lita figure was not something you could buy in a store. In fact, you had to buy a bunch of other figures in order to get Lita. So on the back of random figures during the early 2000s, you would see like UPC or Jack's Points, whatever they were called at that point. And you would have to get a bunch of those and mail them away, and then they would send you back this Lita. Yes, this is my own mail away Lita that I saved up all of my little box clips for. I love her. She's so good. She's in her red gear, kind of an homage to what she was doing during her early days with S.A. Rios. And it's just so well done. This body was never really like used for another woman until her. It's very her. The hip swivel, the kind of side thing. It's very Lita. And it gives the photo shoot that this was inspired by hardcore, especially just the hips.
It's all in the head. Yeah. It's all in here.
Also in 2000, we got our first ever bobblehead, and only bobblehead. Loved this from the time that I was a kid. I was obsessed and I wanted it, but I could never find it. Fast forward to, I think, 2015. So I was 25 years old at the time. Wanted this since I was like 12. And that was back when Kmart was going out of business. And I show up at this random Kmart in Florida, and they had a whole shelf of just these WWF bobbleheads that apparently had just been sitting in the back of that Kmart untouched for over 2 decades. Maybe not over. I don't know math. Math is not me.
13 minus 50, goddamn 47.
But I found it and I took it home. I was so excited. And that's pretty much the gist of Lita figures for the year 2000. And that's when her popularity really skyrocketed because she teamed up with the Hardy Boys, and during 2001, we got a slew of Lita figures. Now, they were all basically repaints. Pretty much everything was the same Lita body with a different paint on the actual outfit. And are honestly probably some of my favorite ones. You've of course got zebra print Lita, which so many people had. So many of my friends, like other wrestling fans, are like, yeah, I had that Lita figure. Then you've got the autograph series that has the autograph on her leg. You can't really see it too well. It's not the most like standouty thingy. This is also the only Lita figure that had anything Team Extreme on it, period. So this one is really sentimental because it's the only thing that has like the merch from that era on her. And that era was iconic, literally iconic. Then you have my personal favorite, which is the pink No Way Out Lita. And why do I love this so much? It's not the outfit, it's not the basic repaint, it's these shoes. Look at these girl power Spice Girl. Who do you think you are? Spice up your life shoes.
Shoes.
I loved it. I always like held off on getting this figure because I was like, it's just another repaint. It's just not something that I really want to get my money like invested into because it was always a little bit expensive. So finally I broke down about 2 years ago and I got it, and I am so glad I did because these shoes are freaking phenomenal. We also saw 2 Litas that were the same kind of repaint style, but they were released in Team Extreme box sets. They had Matt, Jeff, and Lita inside of them. And these are pretty decent figures. I'm really honestly not sure why the painted Hardy Boys Lita was not used in any of these, but that's besides the point. But we did get what I call Neon Lita and Rorschach Test Lita, because this top just looks like a Rorschach test. What do you see? Is it a butterfly? Is it a tree? Is it your future?
What does this remind you of?
Girls.
Two big details on these figures that really make me not like them as much as the other ones. For Neon Lita, the one that gets me is just the fact that in like every figure I see of this, her eyes are just a little horrifying. And then on Rorschach Lita, there is no tattoo. There is no shoulder tattoo. This is Lita. The shoulder tattoo is pretty much everything. That and a thong. Like those were the... And we can't even get a thong on a figure. Like that was asking too much. But to lay off the tattoo... Where is Tattoo? Not the band. Not them. Love them. Well, I love that song. But thongs did come because in 2001 we got a Lita release for the Fatal 4-Way series, which if you didn't ever get to see those, they were basically these still, rigid, more like posable like figurines rather than action figures. And they came in this like little 4-piece set that you could build a like makeshift ring with. And Lita's... Yes, the Fatal 4-Way Lita is one of the most detailed and accurate Lita figures you will ever get in your entire life. Like the legs don't move, but they don't need to because this figure moves us. It speaks to us.
Sing to me, Paolo.
2001 also offered us a 2-pack with Lita in green that was like with Test for some reason. But they were a little bit lazy, and when the draft happened in 2002, they re-released the same figure with a stand. This was Lita's WWE draft figure. I wish they would have given us something original for this, because she was literally the only woman, and well, not just only woman, first woman to be drafted, period, in the history of WWE.
I pick Lita.
Lita, the first last pick. He has selected Lita. Lita, the first female to go in the draft.
You couldn't give us anything other than like a basic Lita. You couldn't even give us like one of the other Litas that are a little bit better. Not saying this one's horrible, but basically she's wearing the same outfit as Tori from DX. But then, are those winds blowing? We gotta talk about the wind-blown Litas. But Lita got 4 of these wind-blown Lita heads. So the reason I have them separate is these two actually came in duo packs with either Bubba Ray Dudley or Matt Hardy and featured Lita's signature moves such as a Lionsault, oh my god, a Moonsault, or a Lita Kanrana. And these were actually a little bit controversial, specifically this figure. There was a Lita Karana one that had to get repackaged and reshipped out because it had her doing the Hurricane Rana to Bubba Ray Dudley, and his face was looking at her crotch, pretty much going... But then this lovely figure that David, who also suggested this video, got me to complete my Lita collection, was released all on its own. Love this one. I love the top, actually. This top, like... That's the bad thing about these figures, is if it just had a different head, they'd be wonderful figures. Absolutely wonderful figures. Then you have Miss Stunting Queen Action Lita, which, in all honesty, is a cool concept. So she has the little hole here that will be attached to a mechanism that allows her to do her moonsault and do a pose of her like doing a moonsault. This is the only one where I'm like, okay, I get the wind-blown hair, because she's not supposed to just really be a wrestling figure. She's supposed to be something that you can kind of pose and have her like in an action stance, pretty much. And I'm okay with that. I can deal with that. Like if that's what it's supposed to do, I can get behind that. But to put that head on other figures, atrocity.
Traumatized.
Maybe it was due to injury, maybe it was due to the fact that WWE was trying to push Trish Stratus and other women, but we didn't see another Lita figure until 2004. This was after her return. It was her epic Bad Blood gear. I love this 2-pack. It was with Matt Hardy. I believe it was the Adrenaline series, if I'm not wrong. I have notes over there, but I don't really want to read.
How can you read this? There's no pictures.
I loved this gear when I saw it on television, and I love it even more that they put it on the figure. This is also a brand new body type. They were using this for pretty much all the women at this point, and I was so happy when Lita finally got this kind of body, because I had played with figures. I was still just 14 at the time. I still do it at 33, but that's besides the point. Like matches with the kind of like, Lita figures wasn't really the same as just having a standard Lita figure to fight with. But then, based off of her main event gear, they gave her the Molly Holly body. I don't know why, but they gave her this. Excuse mine, this is, you can tell I wrestled with it as a kid. She is beat up. And not in the good way. Like, the mug isn't really beat, but the boobies is. The fact that it's based off of the first ever all women's main event, I say quotation marks because it was actually Lita and Stephanie back in 2001, but I just don't think this really does this gear justice. Like, the legs aren't even painted in the back.
We don't make mistakes. We have happy accidents.
They should have went with the body that they were using, because you could have put those big like camo cargo pants on that Lita figure. Like, if this look could translate into this would be like the main event worthy figure for such a historic moment. It took till 2006 and we finally got 2 more Lita figures, and these were based off her heel run at the time. We got this basic Lita who is just in a black top and blue jeans, and it's in the treacherous Trios pack, and that came along with Edge and Matt Hardy. This one, very basic, but it was a really hard find because it wasn't a Trios box, so this took me a while to just randomly get. But the real heel Lita figure that we got in 2006 was this Ruthless God, I cannot talk today. Ruthless Aggression figure.
It's like he's trying to speak to me, I know it!
Love it. I love the buckles and stuff on the pants. I think it's a nice little detail. Doesn't really do much, like, to show that this is like heel Lita, other than the fact that she's got kind of like more of a scowl on her face, I guess. But then it became a dry land. Lita retired in 2006, and we got nothing. We did not get another Lita figure in the line until 2016. It took a full decade.
It's been 84 years.
Not mention it took a decade to get a new Lita figure. It took 16 years to finally get a Lita figure that could fight, and it was wearing a thong. This is what we needed way back in the day. I would have literally thrown myself at a toy shelf when I was a child just to get this figure, just so I could have it and have her beat people up and win the women's championship. 2020 saw our next Lita release, which was the Evolution Lita from her tag team match at WWE's first and so far only all-women's pay-per-view Evolution. It's a basic figure, so it's not an elite. It's not going to have many details, many points of articulation, but it's so well done. They got like all of her like arm sleeve tattoos down to a T. The gear's exactly like what it looks like, and the new face scan, yes, just everything about this figure is absolutely wonderful. I can't complain at all about getting this. But then they decided to spoil us. In 2020, we also got the rated R Superstar version Lita. This is, of course, paying tribute to the outfit that she wore during the hardcore match with Edge and Mick Foley, where she lit that dang table on fire. Really wish she would have had, like, the cut-up, like, I guess, sleeveless rated R kind of vest shirt that she was wearing. I wish that it came as, like, a cloth accessory, but it didn't. And, you know, beggars can't be choosers. But we did get an alternative head. Granted, the alternative head was this, and then the other head that we got with the other Lita figure that got released. But there you have it. That is a complete history of the Lita figures. Granted, there were some that were unreleased that I really wish were. We were supposed to get a whole cool rated R era Lita that never just came to fruition, it seems. I can't wait to see what comes next for her. Are we going to get a Lita return figure? Tag team champion Lita? What's going to happen? What do you think? What do you want to see next? So go ahead and leave me a comment right down here. And if you've made it this far and you haven't clicked that like button and hit the subscribe button, what are you doing? Go ahead and do it right now. It helps me out so much with making new content. I'll see you next week for another toy video, and if you want to follow me on anything, my social links are going to be right here as the credits roll. I have no credits. It's just me. Sitting here being myself. Do you like this queen? She's an old McDonald's toy. I got her this weekend. Look at this hair. I brushed it. Yes, Diva. Yes, Diva. Ooh, Lita would be proud of this hair.